Welcome to this week's episode of Tort Talk. We are live in person in the Orlando office with Joe Fantini. If you like this content that we bring to you on a weekly basis, please make sure you like and subscribe to our channels so you get updated for all new episodes. Let's get into it. Roundup, a huge development in the Roundup litigation. We saw Bayer withdraw their appeal of a $2.1 billion verdict in Georgia. Is this part of a broader scheme going on with Bayer?
Yeah, good question. So all the reports were focusing on this one case where the plaintiff secured that huge $2 billion verdict. We saw Bayer file a notice indicating that they withdrew their appeal. So that means that that case ended up settling. We don't know the total amount that it was resolved for, but I was reviewing some of the dockets in Philadelphia and we saw the same exact thing happen. So there were three very large plaintiff verdicts. In each one of the cases, Bayer had filed an appeal, but just withdrew the appeals, again indicating those cases settled. So it appears this is part of a larger, broader strategy from Bayer to resolve all of the cases that are up on appeal. And then I anticipate that they'll be settling off one-off cases and not letting any further cases go to trial. This strategy is what they're focusing on while they're trying to get that petition heard by the Supreme Court. We'll probably know by the end of January whether or not that goes up.
I mean, it was at the top of your list when we did power rankings, and those are coming up again soon. So it's good to see that we're making progress on Roundup from the plaintiff side, progress in Georgia, progress in Pennsylvania. Potentially, we can make some big moves in 2026 in the Roundup docket. So we have talc. All eyes are on California, where the first post-bankruptcy J&J Talc powder bellwether trial is underway. Joe, what can you tell us about the trial?
We've all been waiting for this day to finally come after 2 or 3 years of delays. Plaintiffs finally have their day in court here. And just like you mentioned, the trial just kicked off in California State Court. It's the first post-bankruptcy filing case, and it started off with a bang. We had the FDA former commissioner testifying that J&J knew about the risk associated with talc for over 50 years, and they hid that risk from the public and the plaintiffs. Obviously, J&J's fighting that tooth and nail, but this just shows how high stakes this case is, because after this trial, there's another couple scheduled for 2026. So the pressure's really heating up on J&J, and this is one that we're all going to be watching through the rest of this year. We'll probably have a verdict in this first initial case before the end of December 25.
Oh, this is very exciting news.
Yeah, who's trying this case, Joe?
One of the main firms involved is going to be Beasley Allen. So they're taking the lead in the MDL as well. So they're one of the firms that's really leading the way in both state court and the MDL.
All right, next one up, we got Tylenol. A crucial oral argument was held before the Second Circuit earlier this week, where the panel heard arguments about the exclusion of plaintiffs' experts in the MDL. How did the hearing go?
This was another huge development in the mass tort world. If you guys remember, this oral argument got delayed about 2 months after the administration came out and said there was an association between women taking Tylenol while they were pregnant and then the children developing ADHD or autism. Basically, what happened during this argument is we're making a similar argument saying that the judge in the MDL went too far. The judge in the MDL, instead of just being a gatekeeper, ruling on what evidence gets to the jury, put on the white lab coat and really dove into the science and said, this study is credible. This is what I believe in. That's the plaintiff's argument. And it seemed, based upon some of the line of questioning from the judges, that they felt like the MDL court might have gone a little bit too far in excluding all of the experts. So right now, we're feeling positive about a ruling coming out of there. It's likely not going to be until the first quarter of 26, but this is going to have very broad implications, not just for the Tylenol MDL, which could balloon into the largest mass tort in history, but also further mass torts going forward about the appropriate standard for the admissibility of experts. So we're really excited about this oral argument.
I'm excited to see where this goes. This is one of the first ones I'm seeing that's currently crossing from mass tort into popular culture at the same time. So if this continues to move forward, it's going to be a major event in U.S. history, political climate, culture.
That just really shows how these cases really impact everyday people, right? A lot we talk about here is these cases, but we have to remember these are real individuals. These are real humans that lives were impacted. And that's why it's so important that we fight these cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Regardless of where you stand in the political spectrum, if you're following these cases and this litigation, there's a lot that's happening right now. And we will keep you up to date here as we continue week after week at Tort Talk. Rounding out our cases this week, we have ChatGPT suicide litigation. So we touched on this briefly last week. We were talking about all the different platform MDLs. And what are you hearing about this ChatGPT litigation?
Yeah, this is just another example of how these cases cross over into real life, right? Everyday life. Everybody's talking about AI and how it's going to help them. Right now, there's about a half dozen lawsuits filed where individuals are alleging that they engaged with ChatGPT and then ultimately ended up injuring themselves, and even some cases where there were some suicides. You guys probably all saw some of the transcripts and the chats that were going on. This is totally wrong. And there needs to be some sort of safeguards in place that protects the individuals that clearly need help. So it's a really sad case, and I expect, unfortunately, more of them to occur in the coming years until there's changes put in place.
This one it hits very close to home, right? Mark and I both have young children. We actually work with Matt Bergman, the Social Media Victims Law Center, who filed these cases. So we are very close to this litigation. We're also huge proponents of the use of AI, right? In law firms, with marketing, helping operations. So we do believe that AI has its place in the world, but it definitely needs guardrails to help protect
Absolutely.
adults and children.
This is a case we're going to be watching. I'm sure we're going to be talking about it. And again, that's why we do these cases, because there needs to be change. And without us coming forward, telling these stories, there really won't be those guardrails put in place. So a lot going on here in mass torts. We're about 45 days away from the end of the year, but we'll have a lot more developments before we move into 26.
Thanks, Joe. This is an absolutely action-packed episode. Next week, we're taking off, I believe, for Thanksgiving, and then we'll be back at the beginning of the month in December with our second ever Power Rankings to close out the year.
Happy Thanksgiving, Joe. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you watching at home.